Hello children, in continuation with the basic concept in the geometry, we will see the conditional statements and its converse. Okay, if you see this part of the part, then what they told you, the statement that can be written in the if then form, it is called as a conditional statement. The part of the statement following if, it is called as an antecedent, and the part of the statement which follows the then, it is called as a consequent. If you see the statement in this statement here, you will notice that if and then is used here, and with this the part which follows the if is if the given quadrilateral is rhombus. This part is called as a antecedent, and the part which follows then, the diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other, it is called as a consequent of that statement. Okay, understood? The statement which is in the form of if then, it is called as a conditional statement. The part of the statement which follows if, it is called as an antecedent, and the part of the statement which follows then, it is called as a consequent. Okay, now we will consider the statement, the diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Okay, how it is, that I will show you. If you see this figure, this A, B, C, D is a rhombus. What I said, A, B, C, D is a rhombus. AC and BD are the diagonals of this rhombus, and if you notice, these two diagonals are intersect each other at point O. If you measure the angle AOD, otherwise AOB, otherwise BOC and DOC, you will notice that each angle is 90 degree. Its measure is 90 degree, means they are perpendicular to each other, means AC is perpendicular on, what we say, AC is perpendicular on BD. AC is perpendicular on BD. So if this is there, and one more thing is that basic, what we say, they are bisectors. The meaning of bisector is that if this AC measure is equal to 6 centimeter, the measure of AC is equal to 6 centimeter, then what happens, AO is equal to 3 centimeter and OC is equal to 3 centimeter. Okay, it divides, means O is the midpoint of AC. Okay, means it is a bisector. BD is a bisector of AC. Same way, if the BD is equal to 8 centimeter, then BO is equal to 4 and OD is equal to also 4. So O is the midpoint of BD. So the meaning of this figure is that, means AC and BD are perpendicular bisectors of each other. What is the meaning? AC and BD are perpendicular bisectors of each other. So this is the statement. Okay, this is the statement, that is the diagonals of the rhombus are perpendicular bisectors of each other is the statement, and that we are converting into the conditional statement now. Okay, now if you see this figure, you will notice that these diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular bisectors. Now statement, the diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular bisectors of each other. The diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Now we convert it into the which statement, that is called as a which statement? Conditional statement. So the conditional statement inside, what they told you, the part which follows if is the given quadrilateral is rhombus, and then after its diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Okay, now the part of the statement which follows if is the given quadrilateral is a rhombus, and the part which follows then, it is its diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. This is called as a conditional statement, because here in this statement if and then are used. Now what is the converse? See here, and yes, before I told you, the part which follows if, it's called as a antecedent, it is called antecedent, and the part which follows this is called as a then, it is called as a consequent. Okay, now what is converse? If we change the position of antecedent and consequent, okay, if you see here the antecedent and consequent, then you will notice that this statement is called as it's a converse. Means what happens? See here, if the quadrilateral is a rhombus, then its diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Here what we said, see here, the antecedent and consequent is given conditional statement is interchanged, the resulting statement is called as it's a converse. If the conditional statement is its converse is not necessary to true. Okay, the conditional statement is true, but its converse is true, it's not it is not possible. Every time it is not possible. The conditional statement is true, but its converse is not necessarily true. Study the following example. If the quadrilateral is a rhombus, then the diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Okay, this is a conditional statement. What we said, if a quadrilateral is a rhombus, then its diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. But what is its converse? If you see the converse here, downside, okay, here is the converse. So converse inside, you will notice that, what is the converse? If the diagonals of quadrilateral, if the diagonals of quadrilateral are perpendicular bisectors, then it is called as a rhombus. If the diagonals of quadrilateral are perpendicular bisectors, then it is a rhombus. So in above example, statement and converse are both true. Okay, if the quadrilateral inside if this is the figure inside, in this figure, if these diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other, the given quadrilateral is a rhombus. That is the statement correct. Means its converse also correct and its conditional statement is also correct. Both are correct for this statement. Okay, but now we will learn one more example, that the conditional statements. What is the conditional statement is given here? If a number is a prime number, then it is even or odd. Okay, that is the correct statement. You know which are the prime numbers? 2, then 3, then 5, 7, 11, then 13, and so on. These are the numbers. Okay, if you study this number, except 2, all other numbers are odd prime numbers, and 2 is the only one even prime number. Yes, so as per this, the conditional statement is correct. If the number is a prime, then it is even or odd. Means these are the prime numbers. The prime numbers may be even or may be odd, but it's converse. If a number is even or odd, then it is a prime number. This statement is wrong. Why? 4. Even number inside, all even numbers will come. 4, 6, 8, and so on. Okay, means these numbers are prime? No, these are not prime numbers. Only 2 is the number which is prime also and even also. So for this statement, what happens? Its conditional statement is, if a prime number is if a number is a prime, then number is odd or even. But its converse, if number is even or odd, then it is prime number. It is a wrong statement. Okay, from this what we are understanding, it is not, means conditional statements are true, but it is not necessary that it's a converse also true. Okay, so for this statement, its converse is false. Okay, now we will move towards the next part of the lesson, that is the proof. Okay, if you see in the picture, here is a Euclid. He is a mathematician. He studied so many things of mathematics and he wrote some postulates. Okay, now one by one we will study this. We have studied the properties of angles, triangles, quadrilateral, even through activities. In this standard, we are going to look at the subject of geometry with a different point of view, which was originated by Greek mathematician, who is this Euclid. Okay, who lived in the 3rd century before Christian era. He gathered the knowledge of geometry prevailing at this time and streamlined it. He took for granted some self-evidences in the geometrical statement which were accepted as a postulate. Means he is doing the study at that time. He gathered some knowledge of geometry of prevailing at that time and streaming it. He has collected it, and that knowledge is further we are using is at a postulates. Okay. Now how he showed that the basic postulates some properties, then he can prove logically. Okay, what he told that he showed that basic postulates. First he showed the basic postulates, and after that some postulates he proved logically. Now we will study the one by one the postulates of this which is given by Euclid. Now properties of logically are called as the properties which are proved logically is called as a theorem. Okay, that theorems we are studying now starting now from the 9th standard, and in next lesson we will start your first theorem. Okay, now we will see the postulates of the what some Euclid's postulates are given below. Okay, see here. Now the first postulate is the, see here, there are infinite number of lines can pass through a single point. Okay, we will see this. Wait. Now in picture I drawn here the point, and from this point we can draw so many lines. Just see here. Wait, I will take different color for it. Now from this point I will draw the so many lines. Suppose this is the line which is passing from this point. If you notice, we can draw innumerable lines passing from a single point. Okay, so see here how many lines I am drawing which is passing from the single point, that is point. Now it is, if you see, I drawn the so many lines which are passing from the single point. So that is the first postulate who told by the Euclid. Okay, what innumerable lines can pass through the single point. Suppose I name it as a point A, then innumerable lines are passing from this point A. Okay, so now we will see the next postulate of the Euclid. Now we saw there are infinite lines pass through a single point. Okay, now we will see the second statement, that is there is one and only one line can pass in through 2 points. Suppose I will draw here only. Suppose I draw one point is here and another point is here, and if I want to join these 2 points, only one line means, suppose I will write here, this point is suppose A, this point is A, point A, and this point is B, and only one line can pass in through these 2 points. So that is the second, there is one and only one line can pass in through 2 points. After that, what they told you next postulate. So first we see infinite number of lines can pass through a single point. Secondly, only one line can pass from a 2 distinct point. Now thirdly, a circle of given radius can be drawn by taking any point at its center. What they do, a circle of given radius can be drawn taking any point at its center. So in this also, if you see here, now I will draw the circle by taking any center. Suppose this is the center of the circle. Okay, and through this I will draw the circle of any radius. Okay, any radius for this center. So this is the center O. Suppose this is the center of the circle, but we can draw the we can draw the different circles with different circles with different radius. Okay, I drawn here 3 circles with a different radius. So that is our third postulate, that is we can draw the from a center of the circle we can take any radius and draw the circle for. This is our third, a circle of given radius can be drawn by taking any point as its center. Next, all right angles are congruent to each other. Yes, you can draw any right angle. Each measure is how much it is there? It is 90 degree. You draw it and you just measure all right angles and its measure is 90 degree. So that is the postulate. Next is the next point is the if 2 interior angles formed by one side of a transversal of 2 lines add up less than 2 right angle, then its lines are produced lines producing in the direction intersect each other. That we will see now. Wait. Now I will draw here 2 lines. They are parallel to each other. Suppose this is one line and that is one line. These 2 are parallel to each other, and this is the transversal of it. And if you measure the angles, these 2 interior angles, then you will get its sum is 180 degree. Its sum is also 180 degree. If its sum is less than 180, then these 2 lines are not what? They are not parallel to each other. They are which type of angles? They are called as a interior, these are called as a intersecting. Suppose this is the line I had drawn here, this is I had drawn here, and this is one more line. If I will add this, and if its measure is 178 suppose, then this line just move forwards and at one interval they intersect each other. So these lines are called as intersecting lines. They are not what? Parallel lines. This is the postulate, fifth postulate of Euclid. Now we have verified some of this postulate through activities. Now we prove this. Now whatever activities we had done, okay, whatever activities we had done, we just from this activity we prove all about these postulates. Now if the property, suppose here the property is supposed to be true, it can be proved logically. Now upside what every means we can draw the innumerable circles from a single point. Afterwards what we see in the only one line can passes from two distinct points. After that we see in the from a single point number of lines can pass through it. So these are the postulates. We shown it, I shown you by activity also. But it is when we have to prove this logically, then it is called as a theorem. The logical argument made to prove, it is called as a theorem, and it is called as a proof. Okay. Now we are studying in this only next lecture, when we are going to prove the conditional statement it is true, the antecedent is called as a given part. Okay. The statement's antecedent is called as a given and consequent part is called as a to be proved. Okay. There are two types of proof, that is direct and indirect, that we will see. So direct part inside what happens, directly figure inside we are showing the how these two are the given statement is true. But indirect inside, the statement which is given, we have to take it, assume as the wrong statement, and we have to prove it. Wrong statement is what we have, whatever we have proved it is wrong, so the statement is correct. Okay, that you will get understand afterwards one by one. Let us given direct proof property angle made by intersecting lines. Okay, so the remaining in this part, if you have to prove this, suppose now only I am going to explain you the part this here. The opposite angles formed by the two intersecting lines are equal measure. That we will see on our next section. But that statement is the which we will prove it by direct method. But the another statement, another one, that is which is the statement, that is if a prime number greater than 2 is odd, and that statement we have to prove in direct method. Okay. So in this way we will today we seen the Euclid's postulates and statement its converse. And one more thing just I will tell you that what they told you, if you study this part then this part is called as a antecedent, this part is the antecedent, and this part remaining part is called as a consequent. So antecedent is the given for the theorem, and consequent is to be proved for the theorem. Okay, so till that we will stop now, and the next part, that is the theorems, we will take in our next lecture. Okay, thank you.